So you can imagine my health is deteriorating. I'm heavily in debt. I owe people money. My wife looks like she's going to leave me because I'm hardly around. And one evening, I just 5 minutes from my home, I stopped my car in this shopping center car park. And I was just going through this breakdown, thinking, what a failure I am. Now, how did I get here whereby I'm not enjoying my life? I feel like I'm a failure. I'm heavily in debt. My health is deteriorating. And in that moment, I realized the mind that created my situation cannot be the same mind that takes me out of my situation. So the thoughts I was having was, how do successful people actually create success in life, in business, in wealth, in happiness, in relationship? How do they do it? And suddenly I realized there were certain things I didn't know. So I went on a journey of self-discovery to go and learn these things.
Hey, welcome to the Wealth and Business Podcast. On this episode, I am joined by a friend, someone who I've got very massive respect for. He's helped so many individuals scale their business, grow their business, and also helped a lot of startup. So I know I've literally said it backwards instead of, forward. So, the vision of every entrepreneur is always to scale. And that is the reason why I started at scale. Now, this amazing individual has helped people, generate from literally 20% into 200% in growth over the years. And he's been in the coaching space. He's been in the business coaching space for at least 2 decades. A lot of challenges through the journey, a lot of successes as well, enjoyed through the journey. He's a multi-millionaire, and he's also someone who has inspired so many business community internationally, especially, in the Asia, Malaysia, all these different international countries, South Africa, India. Without further ado, Mac Attram, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for that great introduction, and thank you for having me on your show, Dr. Daniel Moses. Great minds meet.
Great. Thank you so much for taking your time to show up on this episode. So, Mark, for those who don't really know you, how did this all begin? You've done so well over 20 years being consistent in this industry. You are actually one of those that, there's this adage out there that says, do one thing long enough, you will actually become the greatest. You will become one of the most successful. You've done it long enough and you have all these amazing accolades. Probably we're going to deep into it later. How did it all begin for you?
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, today I consider myself very, very fortunate, very lucky to be in a position where I'm in. I've been married to my amazing wife now. This year we'll be celebrating 23 years of marriage. We have 3 great, adorable children. Financially, I'm very, very secure, and things are very, very good for us. I get to live an amazing life, do some amazing things. I've been an entrepreneur for over 2 decades, and in the last 17 years, had the pleasure to train and coach hundreds of thousands of people in over 50 countries where I've actually visited and trained them from stage. But when you say, where did it all begin? I own several businesses, which is great. But where did it all begin? Well, like most people, I followed the old way of doing things. My parents were one of those: go to school, study hard, get good grades, graduate, get a good, secure job, and be successful. And so I ended up working for 3 corporate companies, and the last one I just left after having a disagreement with my boss, and I started a little computer company, little IT. We're doing internet web design, e-commerce, computer installations. What happened was actually, this was 1999, and I thought, what is popular out there? And the websites have just coming up on board. So I learned about that, started doing it with clients, and then I'd go to client offices and they'll say, hey, got this computer issue. Can you have a look at it for us? In the end, I ended up taking on staff to deal with that kind of stuff. Well, cut a long story short, after just a few short years, it became a struggle. And what had happened and what made it very difficult was this. two of my business partners, business partner came on board, another one came on board, and one came on board, and he actually sold me the story that he wants to be the sales and marketing guy. He wants to do all the sales and marketing. I thought fantastic, and they brought a friend of his along who was expert in computer installation, all qualified, everything. But after less than a year, he says, now I don't want to do sales and marketing anymore. So now I've gone from just managing the business, then doing sales and marketing. And now I'm working crazy hours, 17, 18 hours a day, not seeing much of my family. And it's a days where I've just been married for a few short years and I'm working so hard. I'm not seeing, and my wife, listen, this time my wife is pregnant with our second child. And these years are going by. I actually didn't see for the first 3 or 4 years of her life. I didn't see her much of growing up because I'm trying to get this business working. So my life was a mess and lack of sleep. My doctor said you've got to slow down. Your blood pressure is rising, and and my business part. One of them said he's not doing this anymore. He disappears. The other one so he goes, the other one then disappears totally. I go to his house, I'm ringing the door, he's not answering. I'm thinking, where is he? Where is he? I'm phoning him, no answer. I asked some associate, have you seen him? He said, yes. So he just looked like he was avoiding me. And the mess that transpired from that was, it came to a realization that they had ordered some various products and suddenly my name was on them. I've fallen into debt and then I've borrowed money to the tune of $100,000 credit cards, loans to pay all these creditors off. So financially, now I'm in a mess and I'm struggling. So you can imagine my health is deteriorating. I'm heavily in debt. I owe people money. My wife looks like she's going to leave me because I'm hardly around. And one evening, I just 5 minutes from my home, I stopped my car in this shopping center car park. And I was just going through this breakdown, thinking, what a failure I am. All I could think in my mind, I'm such a failure. How did I get here whereby I'm not enjoying my life? I feel like I'm a failure. I'm heavily in debt. My health is deteriorating. And in that moment, I realized the mind that created my situation cannot be the same mind that takes me out of my situation. So the thoughts I was having was, how do successful people actually create success in life, in business, in wealth, in happiness, in relationship? How do they do it? And suddenly I realized there were certain things I didn't know. So I went on a journey of self-discovery to go and learn these things, go and learn how to do my business properly, go and learn about wealth. And in less than 2 years, I was able to fix my business. And then I sold that business and I started focusing on really acquiring other assets. I started a real estate property business, which we still own, multi-million pounds, a training and coaching business. Later on, I started. Well, the reason why I started that, people kept asking me to help them with their business. And that's how I got into the training business. So that takes us full circle to now in terms of what I've been doing.
This episode of the Wealth and Business Podcast is brought to you by our sponsor and our partner, Adrian Benjamin. Adrian is a wealth protection advisor who helps business owners, property investors to financially protect themselves, their family, and their businesses. Adrian will make sure that if the worst was to happen to you or your family, you will be able to financially survive. For more information, to know more how Adrian can help you protect your wealth, your families from the worst when it does happen, follow the link on the show notes and you will have access to his social media, a calendar link to help book a consultation call where he can actually see where you are in your wealth protection. Wow, wow, wow. You know, and it's been the I personally have been aware of you, if I'm quite right. I've been aware of you specifically. I've seen you in the space for at least the last 4 years, and I know how amazing you are as an entrepreneur, as a business coach, and as well as someone who just wants to really give internationally as well as back home here in England. Now, just looking at that story, a lot of us, who kind of find ourselves where, as entrepreneurs, and we hit this break walls and we think, okay, actually, we this is it, it's done. And you find a lot of entrepreneurs actually bury their head in the sand. Now, I had similar experience as well, where I lost over 150,000 pounds, and I came to the point where I specifically gave up entrepreneurship. And I
Wow.
didn't know at that time, for me, it was like I would ever come back into entrepreneurship at all, because I ended it and I just started the delivery driving job, because I was never employed before. I've never been employed before. I went to being the delivery driver, from the delivery driver being an Uber driver, and for me then eventually becoming property investor and a coach. At this stage of your life, when everything is just basically turned around and you are in debt, your business partners has left you, you're feeling failure, and you're feeling disappointment, even as a father, you're having your second child. What exactly was going through your mind? What exactly, you know, before you made the next step? How was life like?
How life was like. The moment when I recall sitting there in the car, my hands on the wheels, feeling like I'm such a failure and sobbing. That evening is a blur. I do not remember the rest of the evening. I remember getting home, whatever. Don't know what happened. That the moment I it must have been in my mind consciously saying, I've got to learn this. I remember for weeks and months reading books and going on the internet and searching for answers, because I felt like there must be something wrong with me, because I'm not a bad person. I'm a good guy. So why
Hmm.
am I failing? And so clearly all the studies are done, and all the MBA program that I qualified in was not helping. And so life was tough in terms of trying to pay bills, trying to have enough money to put into the car so I can drive to work and make sure we're getting on with helping our clients, trying to borrow money from here, there, and everywhere just to survive. And I suppose with my martial arts background and martial arts training, there is a part of me that is like never give up mentality, never give up, always find a way. Never. So I didn't know that, but God is great in a way that my lowest point was the turning point for the rest of my life. I didn't know it was a blessing in disguise, that I had to suffer to understand how to do things properly. And in doing so, having now the ability to, what's the word? Empathize for other entrepreneurs. And I can see it clearly when they go in the wrong way and they're going very fast the wrong way. I can see it, I can feel it, I can empathize for them, I can show them the right way. So when you say what was life like, it was just tough. It was just
Wow.
tough trying to figure out a way. And the saving grace was listening to some amazing people, going to some amazing workshops and seminars that started to reprogram my mind. Because when this changed, then that's when the results started to change.
Absolutely. You said something there, and is we've now done, if I'm very right, we've now recorded at least over, we've recorded over, 50 episodes live on this wealth and business podcast. And this is what this, podcast is all about. That journey of the ordinary to the extraordinary, that journey of success, of wealth creation, because I have different kind of conversation every single day, both online, in person, and often a lot of entrepreneurs do believe that you know success comes quite very easily, in as much as yes, it can come very easily, but there is this hard work that is required before the smart work. And everybody says smart work, smart work, smart work, smart work. And people also say, don't burn out. And people also say things like, you know balance and all these different things. But when you go through a point where you are almost at a place where it's, for me as an entrepreneur, when an entrepreneur is failing, it's almost like life and death. That's the way I
Yeah,
see it. When an entrepreneur is
yeah,
failing, it's like life and death. It's like oxygen. The moment you stop having oxygen, you're dead. So, and that is how deep this journey of entrepreneurship is. And I always say it's not a journey of the faint-hearted, it's a journey of the strong and those that have a will of never quitting. And you are an overcomer. And from every single person I've actually interviewed on the Wealth and Business podcast, I've come to realize that everyone seems to have gone through the storm, right? And also, I've come to understand that not every storm that we go through comes to completely wipe us out. Some of these storms that
Mm.
we go through as an entrepreneur come to make us the greatest version of ourselves. In fact, the greatest storm you will go through will bring the highest success you will ever attain in your career. And it took me years to kind of understand it now, because for me, this podcast has become that therapy for me as well, to kind of, when I interview people and I go through that journey with them, I see myself going through it with them. So thank you so much, Mark, for going in depth to really explain how that felt for you. Now,
Mm.
what about entrepreneurs that actually do bury themselves in the sand and hoping the whole challenges and all these things will go away? Because you were in debt, you've lost your business partners. What would you
Yeah.
what sort of advice would you give to people right now? We are currently
Sure.
in an economic
So
downturn.
yeah,
Yeah, what advice would you give
it's a
to
great.
people?
What advice would I give? When I turned my business and life around, people kept asking me the same questions. How do I do this in my business? How do I? And so I did some research. I looked at why my business was failing. I studied it and then I wrote it down why my business was failing. Because that time I've turned things around. I'm a millionaire. I've got money. Things are good. So I can think clearly. I'm not worried and stressed about money. And then I started helping people fix their business. And I found that there are 42 specific reasons why any business fails.
Mm,
42 different reasons. And so I published this ebook, people loved it, and then I turned it into a book. And that book's called Face It and Fix It. And Face It and Fix It, I launched that book when I put it all together. I launched that book in June 2016 and became an Amazon #1 bestseller, international bestseller. Now, when you say when entrepreneurs are buried their head in the sand, how do they turn it around? The reason why it's called Face It and Fix It is that when you realize there is a problem, that problem at the beginning, it's at its weakest. But as time progresses, does that problem go away? Does that challenge go away? It actually gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So in that book, where I talk about these are 42 reasons why businesses fail. Here's some case studies of businesses who've recognized that and turned their business around. And here's some proven concepts and ideas you can use now to fix your business. So instead of burying your head, what I encourage people is get to a place of admitting something's wrong and be
mm,
honest and truthful to yourself. Now, once you can become that aware and conscious of the fact something's not working, the next step is ask for help. Asking for help, many people think that that's a sign of weakness. There are many people you can ask for help, and it doesn't have to be a family member, doesn't have to be a friend, unless they've experienced the same thing. But for me, it was coaches and mentors that had been through certain cycles and turned things around. So I listened to them, I asked for help, and I followed their strategies and systems, and it changed my situation around. So simply, in answer to your question, is face it and then fix it. Face it means now, and I know there's something wrong. Okay, now I'm gonna ask for help, see how I can overcome this, and then slowly fix it. Now, if it comes to a situation where it's unfixable, then let it go and pivot. Doesn't mean you're a failure as a person. It just means that this thing you was trying to do just didn't work. Just didn't work. It could be a number of factors. The marketplace wasn't ready for it. It was financially under-resourced. You're not the right person at this right time with the right mindset to make that thing happen. So pivot into something that would work. There's nothing wrong with transitioning from something that doesn't work to something eventually that does work. And every entrepreneur who's achieved success at any level will tell you a lot about you hear a lot about people's wins and successes, but rarely do you hear about their failures. But they have plenty of failures.
Yeah, I mean, in an era these days where everything is being planted to this instant gratification process,
Mm.
all the things about Rome was built in a day when it isn't the truth. And you hear about people, as a property coach, and for me, one of the things I preach a lot is, for example, when you get into property, you're not going to be wealthy today. You're not going to be wealthy tomorrow, but have a plan. At least set yourself a 5-year plan, because when you have that 5-year plan, you can literally go through the milestone that can get you where you are. And you will have challenges, and you will encounter failures. Embrace it, like you said, fix it and fix it. And I just really love that book, to be honest. I am going to be grabbing that book, to be honest. And it's all about fixing things, right? Because entrepreneurs, that's what we do. We create, we fix things, we turn things that's not working into something. And that's the value proposition, isn't it? It allows you to become a value provider. But you can't give what you haven't been through, right? You can't give what you don't have, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. Does that make sense?
No,
So
absolutely.
so for entrepreneurs right now, you've told them to face it and face it. As a sales coach, as a business coach, as also, you know, someone who have dealt with, the largest diverse industry, from tech to property to retail, and all these different businesses, with that vast experience. Right now where you're seeing business fold up, and then also you're having startup begin, if there was to be a few recommendations that you want to advise them from your point, for example, you've been through that point in your life where your business was literally about to pack up and you broke down. What could be the greatest lesson learned that you can use to advise anyone listening?
Okay, that's a great question. You would have heard this terminology. This too shall pass.
Mm.
This too shall pass. So anyone listening right now and thinking, oh, I've got this challenge going on, my business is not working, the economy has changed, I'm suffering. This too shall pass. So if you're of a certain age, you'd have had some challenges in your life, guaranteed. Whether it's as a child, whether it's in your relationship, whether it's to your happiness, whether it's to your business or your career or a promotion that you was expecting, you didn't get, you'd have had some challenges. This too shall pass. And so to understand that it's a case of now, if there is something you're trying to achieve and you're not there yet, clearly there's something you don't know, as Robert Kiyosaki says. There's something you do not know. Or there is that person that you need to become that you are not that person yet.
Yeah.
So understand this, that your business, your wealth, your income can only grow to the extent that you grow. I'll repeat, because this is very, very important. Your wealth, your business, your income can only grow to the extent that you grow as a person. So if once things are not going right, say, okay, which area of my life do I need to grow in order to improve this? And oftentimes you'll have to surrender your old way of doing things to learn a new way that can get you there much faster and easier. You understand? So
Yeah.
for those people thinking, how do I do this? I'm suffering, I'm struggling. Understand, making mistakes and failure is a part of life. From the moment you were born and the moment you started walking, let me ask you this. Did you fall down a few times before you started to walk properly? Guaranteed. You fell down a few times because there's no way your legs can strengthen. There is no way your legs can strengthen if you don't fall down a few times. That's how it strengthens. And there was some research done, Dr. Moses, that said, if a child, if they studied children who had developed rickets in their legs. Rickets is where the bones are weaker and it's bow leg. And at times, the parents are trying to get them to walk faster than when they are physically ready.
Mm.
So if you're trying to create a business of a certain level and you are not ready mentally, emotionally, spiritually, if you are not ready, there is no way that can be ready. And how do we get ready? Well, we've got to face it, which is, okay, which part of what is it I need to know? Who do I need to become in order to have that kind of result?
Mm.
And so the other way I look at it is this: from one of my books, The Millionaire Moment, I talk about how our mind shapes our financial destiny. Our mind, it starts from here. And I talk about that if you want to achieve anything, you have to really understand how your mind is working for you and working against you. And you have to understand that if you can start managing that mind and start managing your attitude and start managing your habits then creates consistency. I hope this is making sense a little bit.
Mm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Quite very key, vital information right there. That it's almost like, as a man thinketh, that's what he becomes. And
Yeah.
this is one of the things that there's this actual author. He says, if you think you can't, you can't, and if you think you can, you can. And
Yeah.
talking about something you mentioned in the last conversation, just right there, you said it all begins from here, right? It begins from here and it goes to your heart, and you actually broke that really, 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 really well. Now, for us as entrepreneurs, I'll give an example. I've been an entrepreneur for 22 years myself, and in 22 years of my journey as an entrepreneur, I have been through, a massive roller coaster, starting, stopping, starting, stopping. One of the things I started to learn was it was okay to start, it was okay to stop, but it doesn't mean that's going to distract my vision. I haven't been through all these different phases. However, when I literally lost over 150,000 pounds in my Nigerian business, and I went through depression and I went through anxiety and I went through a lot of spiritual, transformation where I thought even God himself was against me and he wanted, and I was like, I felt the devil was after me. And I
Mm, mm,
realized that actually God wanted me to confront the devil and look him in the face and literally
mm,
confront him. And now later, everything makes sense because no, the devil wasn't after me. Neither was God not by my side. But God genuinely wanted me to learn the lessons because after the lesson, all right, comes the success. And it's quite
mm.
important that entrepreneurs start to think in this way because I've seen so many entrepreneurs when it just entrepreneurs only celebrate themselves when it's just working. And for me, I
Yeah.
started to actually celebrate myself when it's not working and when it's working. In fact, I celebrate myself more now when it's not working, and I encourage myself to pass when it's not working because I know when it's not working, there is the lesson because the lesson
Mm,
is in when it's not working. The lesson is not when everything's not working. You're doing a sales call, you're closing, you're needing the funds, the investment is coming, your business is
yeah.
growing, growing, growing. And because what the media is showing us today is the instant gratification method, the 4 hour
Yeah.
work weeks. The
Yeah.
4 hour work week as an entrepreneur, the work smart, don't work hard. Everything is easy. You can scale
Yeah.
your business in 6 months to multi-million, but the hard work is needed on this part of becoming successful. And
Yeah.
and I just like how you break it down. So my next question to you would then be that for someone like myself who went through that journey, and to be honest, it was when I went through that journey of losing everything that I actually found myself mentors. That was when I discovered
Mm,
events, and that's when I discovered seminars. In fact, I never knew about any of these things at that time. And you also mentioned how that transformed your life. Now,
mm.
how important is it for entrepreneurs to number one, stay inspired and at the same time stay educated? and not thinking they know it all figured out?
Yeah, great question. Great question. You know, the moment an entrepreneur says, I'm here now, I've reached a point, I'm successful, mark that. That's your downfall. That's when you're going
Mm,
to go down. Why? Because guess what? As an entrepreneur, as business owners, as the economy, it changes. It's dynamic. You know, 5 years ago, what your clients may have wanted is not the same as what they want now,
yeah.
right? We've been through COVID, pandemic, everything else. So things are dynamic. Now, you'd have seen people who have gone to school, got great education, and then stopped learning. Now, why should you carry on learning? Well, the moment you say to yourself, I want this level of success. Now, whatever it is, I want to create a multi-million dollar business. I want to start my new business, whatever it is. I want to have a net worth of 5 million. The moment you make that decision, that's what you want. You got to ask yourself, do I have the ability to do that? And as you go down that track of trying to achieve it, and it's not coming and it's a struggle, that's when you've got to realize, actually, is there someone who knows how to do this better than me, who's already done it, who can help me? And if you are willing to surrender to the fact that someone could be able to show you this and get you there much faster, then that's where you want to be. You know, in our training programs at MindSpace Coaching, my company, there are 3 specific areas that we're working with clients on constantly, right?
Mm,
One is this: attitude. Do you have the right attitude to achieve that result? When I say attitude, I'm talking about mindset, belief, desire, hunger. Do you have the right attitude? What has gone on deep in your subconscious mind that may be forcing you to procrastinate, that may be forcing you to sit in fear, may be causing you not to do the things that you're supposed to do? And we address that on a one-to-one with our clients. The next thing is action. Are you taking the right actions that will get you that result? And I know, you know, one of your Instagram lives we were doing recently, we talked about a lot of people get
yeah.
distracted in terms of what it is they're trying to achieve. This is the result you want. So every day, that's what your focus should be. But if you are getting distracted onto other things, that's not going to get you there. That's a problem. And so the third thing is what we work with our clients on is what we call accountability. We measure everything they're doing in their business. We have a dashboard and everything is measured, because what you measure, you can't change what's not measured. You can't change what's not measured. So what I say is realize that the moment you make a decision that you want to be bigger, you want to be better, then ask for help. Coach, advisor, go to workshops, go to seminars, whatever it is, get that help to get you there faster. And then I remember what you said earlier on about, we are told in this, we in more and more, the media is saying, you can have it now, instant gratification, 4-hour work week, get it tomorrow, you can have this, you know, and a lot of people are propagating on social media, hey, you know, they hire these wonderful villas and fast sports cars and they say, hey, have this, and this is how I did it. And people start thinking, hey, I can do that tomorrow. I can have that tomorrow. I can have that in a few months' time. Maybe not. But there is nothing wrong with realizing that if I want to create great wealth, I've got to work hard at it now so that I never have to work hard at it for the rest of my life. If I want to create great wealth, I work hard at it now. Nothing wrong with working smart. I agree with working smart, but essentially it takes hard work to create anything of significance, anything that will last long. If you go for the short term, guess what? You'll have a short term win, but you'll have a failure very, very soon. Don't go for any get rich quick schemes. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Realize that this is what you want, ready to work for it, work hard on it. Like you said, you know, maybe the next 2, 3, maybe 5 years to get where you want to go. So you never ever have to work hard for the rest of your life. And that's what I found in my own life.
Absolutely. I mean, you're someone, for example, that has worked with the likes of Lex Brown, the likes of Robert Kiyosaki, and you've worked with T Hive, Eka, and as well Blaise Singer. You've worked with all these outstanding business coaches across the globe, and you've learned a lot from them yourself, and as well as you have also helped impact lots of lives across the globe. Now, how would you say, entrepreneurs who are out there, that, I mean, to be honest, we live in a world where today people embrace lies rather than truth. People take
Mm.
bad for good. Does that make sense? People accept bad for good. And for the likes of us who probably would be, as much as genuinely as we can to literally guard people who are looking to create the greatest life for themselves and just listen, telling someone, for example, I'm in the property space again, I'll make reference to this. And people say to me, oh, Dr. Daniel, I see what you're doing. You're a millionaire. How can I be a millionaire in the next 1 year? And I say, it's not going to happen. But it's not going to happen in a year. Yes, if you have lots of money, yes, it can happen. All right. But if you don't have enough money, you're going to have to work through that phase because you have to do the get the knowledge strategy. You have to be knowledgeable of an industry that you want to, you want to work in. You have to do the hard work first, before you're going to do the smart work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you really want to give away to those who are listening right now to kind of embrace the fact that hard brings success. Doing one thing long enough brings greatness and wealth creation. And there is definitely gets rich for sure through being an entrepreneur, and maybe you might agree or disagree with me, but I mean, doing something long enough always bring takes to the destination of greatness. So I probably want you to shine a light on that.
Sure, sure, sure. Um, often when I speak, I talk from my own experience, what I've seen, what I've been through, what I've helped other people through, what case studies I have. And one thing I realize is this: if you want to create anything that will last long, for the long term, then it takes planning and it takes this decision making that this is what I want. The moment you do that, let's say you're going to start a business and you want to grow it to a certain level, you have now got to become obsessive about that. Not obsessive about the business, but obsessed with helping the clients that you have. Obsessed that you work every week, waking day. How do I make this better for my clients? Remember, the only reason why anybody gives you money in business, the only reason, actually not in business, in life, the only reason why anybody gives you their money is that they have a problem that they don't want and a result they want, but they don't have. Let me repeat. They have a problem. So if you set up a business and you're thinking, how am I going to make money? Okay, who are these people who have a problem they don't want and a result they want that they don't have? You have the solution. So you've got to now match in the marketplace. Okay, these are the people with the problems. This is my solution that will help them. And then eventually they'll get the result. That takes effort. That doesn't come in overnight. Now, when you mention that, hey, someone said, can I be a millionaire in a year? And you said, no, it's going to be. So you know that because you've experienced that. And for those who haven't, what happens is this, especially in the last few years where people have been pushing cryptocurrency. Nothing wrong with it. I'm in crypto. There's nothing wrong with that. And yes, some people inadvertently became millionaires within weeks and months. And because they weren't aware of where the money came from, how the money came about, and they had no money management skills, guess what? Or didn't understand the market, the crypto market, within the next week, they were no longer those crypto millionaires. So what we're saying is establish the base, establish the foundation of what it is you're trying to create from your mind and onwards, and make it a long-standing, sustainable thing. When I say obsessed, There was a book written by Malcolm Gladwell, and in that book, he talks about 10,000 hours. So 10,000 hours of mastery. If you want to master something, I don't know if this is true or not, but if you want to really be good at something, 10,000 hours minimum, he says, right? Some people have debated that. And I think about my martial arts practice. And have I done, I'm a 6 Dan black belt, I'm a former UK champion. And have I done 10,000 hours? I'm not even a master yet. And I've been practicing for over 40 years in different styles. In the last 22 years, studying with Grandmaster Trevor Nichols in the UK here, 22 years. And I'm not still a master yet in that. And some people start their business, they're not willing to put the hours in, and then they give up after a few months. It's not working. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And my question is, Dr. Moses, I say to them, is someone else doing this kind of business in this industry that you're aware of? Yeah, it's working for them. So why isn't it working for you? It's not working for you because of your mindset, your attitude, your habits, and sometimes unwilling to take the responsibility that for this to work, it's down to me. I make it happen. Like you said, as entrepreneurs, we make it happen. We take the risks.
Wow. You spoke about obsession. Is obsession a good thing or a bad thing as an entrepreneur?
Is obsession a good thing or a bad thing? Now, I was very careful to frame that. And I said, be obsessed, not about your business, but be obsessed about the success of your clients. So that's a good thing. Because if you're obsessed about your clients and you want them to win, you want them to succeed, you want them to have the best, and you're tweaking your products and services to make sure it services them, they're going to keep coming back. And will they tell other people? They'll tell other people, right? And now you've got referrals, you've got recommendations coming in. Nothing wrong with that. So be obsessed, be obsessed about your clients, and you can't go wrong. If you really want to serve them, if you really want them to overcome whatever challenges or problems that they have, because some people's challenges could be small. It could be something is inconvenient, something's not working, something's not right. So all this goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Be obsessed for your clients' results. And I'll just to kind of add, for myself specifically, I also, I know obviously the way you've positioned that. I also believe that as an entrepreneur, for me personally, I just believe that, yes, you've got to be obsessed about what you do. And you have got to be obsessed as well as, who you are becoming as an entrepreneur, or, what you're trying to achieve. Because it's also important, because if you're not, you're obsessed about your client, and as well as if you're not obsessed for what you do and have that drive to the gig that kicks you up every single day and night, because the obsession part is quite a large, quite a massive conversation to have, because some people might see it as ego, some people might see it as arrogance, and people can have all their different perspective when we talk about the word obsession. So somehow we got to be careful in how we position it.
Yeah.
So, but for me, yeah. I really agree with what you said about being obsessed about the client's results. So, for example, in our coaching company, where we coach people on how to build property portfolios and create wealth, leverage and using all these different things, I always say, right, I want to see you win. I want to see you build, at least I want to see how we can help you build that £1 million property portfolio, at least at 18 months, or maybe just outside of 24 months. If that's, depending on how that individual wants to go. And this takes a level of obsession, first of all, for you as a client to want to first agree, can I build a £1 million property portfolio? That's number one. And number two, can this work for me? And if you apply obsession to it, that will keep you up at night. In the morning, that will wake you up. And throughout the day, obsession will gradually, help you gravitate towards the end of what you're looking to achieve. So, yeah, absolutely looking at it from two different angles. I totally agree with what you said. Now, as we go towards the end of this episode, first of all, I want to massively thank you for coming through to us here at Wealth and Business Podcast. It's something that has been playing in my mind recently, and this is for me and probably also for the audience. A lot of people keep talking about this work balance thing these days, right? And especially as a startup business, I'm no longer in the startup section of my organization. We're in the growth stage and gradually phasing into our scale stage. And you see a lot of entrepreneurs who are getting started calling themselves, I'm in the startup, but yeah, you gotta have life work balance. It's not work, work, work. It's quite a I don't even know how to position this. I don't think, for me, I don't think you can have like what I mean. There's obviously there are people having entrepreneurs, or there are entrepreneurs who are startup for just lifestyle. There are entrepreneurs who are self-employed. There are entrepreneurs who are basically in the growth stages. And I think we talked about this on our Instagram live the other day. You know, is it a good conversation? Is it even a good mentality for a startup business to even be thinking of life work balance at the time of where you need to get to work and work hard before actually getting the smart work? Because for me, I don't believe there is smart work without hard work. I believe you've got to work hard first, because your hard work is what's going to lead you to smart work. And
Mm.
I believe you've got to burn that candles first before you can actually balance, balance.
You
You've
know,
been on the journey for 20 plus years.
I'll put it in, I get exactly what you're talking about. And where I want to go with this is that, yes, you said something about some people start their business just for a lifestyle, So, they get their laptop, they got their phone, they can work from anywhere. It's just a lifestyle. They work around their family, they work around everything. That's one type of business. But what you're trying to build and what you've been doing, and what I do as well, you're building an empire. Now, to
Mm,
build an empire, you can't do that willy nilly. It takes vision, it takes strategic direction, it takes planning, it takes goals and objectives. So, so that's a different mentality. Now, having said that, anyone listening, decide I might build a business just for a lifestyle, just I work around it or whatever, or I might build an empire for wealth. So a lifestyle business is just really for income. There's a difference between income and wealth. If you're building
mm,
an empire, a proper business, just like Jeff Bezos and Amazon, if you're building Elon Musk, Tesla, if you're building something of significant long-term generational wealth, it takes a different mindset. Now, let's go back to let's talk about work-life balance and everything else. And I used to really struggle with this. Am I working too hard? Am I not seeing my kids enough? And once I realized this, anything I'm doing, I have to make sure that my primary relationships are either involved or aware of what I'm doing. So
mm,
what do I mean by primary relationships? My wife or your spouse, your kids, the people who have significant, you have significant time invested in or interest in. You've got to let them know what's going on. Once they are on board with you and you explain, this is what I'm trying to do for us, right? Then you've got to now see how you balance everything. I'll give you a reality. Before COVID, I was traveling a lot, and I was still building my businesses, and I was still teaching around the world. But my agreement with my family that every school break, I'm not traveling. I'm going to be at home with you. Easter, Christmas, or summer breaks. I would literally take 2 months off here or there, a month off at December, like you're doing now. I'll just take them off because I had a team in place to do that. That was my, if you like, my balance. And then I
mm.
started thinking, am I doing this right? Right. Then on one of my podcast shows, I had the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Ivan Meisner. Dr. Ivan Meisner is the founder of BNI, Business Network International. And we had the same conversation like me and you are having now. And
Yeah.
he said that, because I asked the same question about work-life balance and all the rest of it. And I said, how do you balance running such a big operation internationally? And he said he stopped using that term work-life balance. And for him, he translated it to the word harmony. am I in harmony with the people around me? And he said
Mm.
when he had this breakthrough was that he was traveling internationally, and one day he got home and he decided that look, he's just going to stop and be observant of what's going on instead of getting into work. And his son wanted to play. His son was young then, wanted to play PlayStation or whatever it was. So he stopped and just played with him. And he finished, and his son said, "Thank you." And he asked his son, "Do I spend enough time with you?" And his son said, "Just now is great. Just the time you spend with us, Dad, when you're traveling is great." That's when he realized that his primary relationships are important. When he's there, he's got to be there. When he's there, he's present. When he's there, he's not working. When he's there, it is now and then. This is what we're doing. And which made a lot of sense to me. So when I heard him say harmony, not work-life balance, because as
Mm.
entrepreneurs, it is different. If you work for a company and you work 9 to 5 a week, you've got weekends off, that's a different mentality to an entrepreneur mindset. Totally different, right?
Wow, wow, wow. Mark, you have basically just nailed it down. And I've learned a lot from this because we are victims of different, work that we create. And also, how do we get off that victimization of our mindset? Because somehow we're surrounded by people who probably would plant different kind of seeds into our lives. And then, and as a beginner entrepreneur, a lot of people will always say, "Oh yeah, balance it. Work-life balance. You're not going to take it with you. What are you trying to grade? What if you drop that tomorrow?" And it's just so important how you use the word harmony to really comprehend everything. So be present. All right, is important. So being present means that when you're there, be then present. That obviously harmonizes work-life balance rather than obviously focus on the work-life balance. Thank you so much, Mark, for being on this episode. You're very busy today, and I know that. So I just want to say massive thank you for coming through to us here at Wealth and Business Podcast. And we can't as well wait until you are going to be speaking at the Wealth and Business
Yes.
networking event. So, as most of you know, the Wealth and Business Podcast runs its own event every quarter, usually the last Monday of the last Monday of the quarter, or rather the last Friday of the quarter. So we've done this over the last couple of years, and Mark Attram is going to be on the next one, which is on the 27th of February. He's going to be having a 30 minutes presentation talking to entrepreneurs, business owners, especially those who are looking to start, grow and scale up their business and create wealth and legacy for their family. So, Mike, thank you so much, Mark, for being on this, episode. If there's any final words you want to say, and how can people reach you?
Yeah, I mean, just go out, whatever it is you want to achieve, make a definite decision that that's what you want, and then seek help to get there quickly. For those who want to reach me, it's simply go to macattram.com. You will see what I'm up to, what I'm doing. There's a free business quiz there. You can really determine where your business is and what you need to start fixing and looking at. And yeah, or get me on social media at Mac Attram and any of the social media channels.
Thank you so very much for being on the Wealth and Business Podcast. We'll see you on the next episode, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this. Guys, make sure you follow this podcast, share it with a friend of a friend, share it with your family members, and share it on your social to continue to help us bring more quality guests. As you guys know, the Wealth and Business Podcast has been over the last 2 years. We're coming to be 2 years old in the game. So, guys, make sure that you support us, share this with people. The more audience we get, the bigger this episode goes out, the more quality people we continue to bring here to help you overcome your startup challenges, your growth challenges, and as well as creating wealth and obviously scaling and building your empires. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode.